Whoa, wait a second. Virtual reality is taking a step into the cheaper direction now. Thank God. I saw the Oculus, then I saw the Vive, and it went up 200. Now it's going down 200, thank you. Anyway, virtual reality is going to become much more accessible if you have a PlayStation 4, which a lot of people do. It's probably the most popular console out there currently. And you also need that little camera attachment. If you don't have it, it's only 60 bucks. It's just a little upgrade. So now, how is the PlayStation virtual reality headset able to undercut the Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive? Well, it's simple. It just kind of lacks some of those higher end specifications. So firstly, the most measurable difference between the other ones, the expensive ones, and the PlayStation VR is the resolution. PlayStation VR has a 9.7 inch panel that's 1920 by 1080, just standard HD, but it's cut in half so you get 960 by 1080 resolutions for each of your eyes. On the Oculus and Vive, you have 1200 by 1080 for each of your eyes. So things are gonna look crisper on those more expensive models. There's also a tad bit of a narrower view on the PlayStation VR because it has a field of view of 100 degrees while the Rift and the Vive have a field of view of 110 degrees. So there's just, little things. A place where they actually tie is refresh rate. All three of these new headsets have a 90 hertz refresh rate. So things are gonna be looking pretty smooth. Now we all know that the Rift and the Vive, the computers that they run on, outperform the PlayStation 4 between graphics, resolution. We get all that. Hardcore gamers can handle really nice displays and computers. But here's the reason I think PlayStation VR is going to sell much better than the other guys. And first of all, it starts at $400, not $600, much more reasonable, but it's actually a lot cheaper than just $200 difference or $400 difference, because you have to consider all of these products rely on something else to do all the processing. None of these are independent. So the Vive and the Rift require very beefy supercomputer gamer rigs that are around $1,000. That's like the cheapest one you can get. And if you incorporate tax into all that, and also consider that the Oculus Ready PCs don't have monitors with them, you're looking at about a $2,000 setup. That is if you didn't have any of that before. That's a lot. And sure, tons of people are gonna buy it. Hardcore gamers are out there, there's lots of them, but they're not the mainstream. Most gamers are on consoles, whether it be Xbox or PlayStation, and a huge chunk of the PC gamer market doesn't qualify for VR because they don't have the specs necessary. Some only have a gig of graphics, some have 2, but they're not the right configuration and it won't work well with the headset. So I think we can all agree most gamers, average gamers, are not going to be willing to invest $2,000 into a VR setup. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't. I know I couldn't, and none of my friends can, because I don't have friends. No, just kidding. They actually have pretty decent gaming PCs, and yet none of them are qualifiable by either the Rift or the Vive. So they're screwed. They have to do something to upgrade or get a different computer. But with PlayStation VR, the equipment compatibility debate is so simple. It's the most popular console ever, the PS4. Do you have one? Do you have the little $60 camera accessory? If you don't, just grab that and then boom, you're ready. I have a PS4, I have the camera, I can now buy the headset. I know it works. So when you have a $400 console, $60 camera accessory, a $400 headset, you add in some accessories, all that stays under $1,000, which is still kind of high for a lot of people, but way, way more doable than a $2,000 setup. And considering the difference between the high-end headsets and this headset are not huge, so it's not gonna look as HD, and the field of view isn't as wide. That's kind of it. I'm sure there's some other technical things you can tell me about in the comments, but I think it's so simple to know if your rig works with it because it's just a PS4. That's all you need. You don't have to wonder about, do I have the right amount of RAM? Do I have the right graphics card? Do I have the right processor? Do I have to install the right software? All of that kind of gets in the way of the experience. I think a lot more people will be invested in that idea because it's easier to understand and it's also way more popular and affordable. See, earlier I had huge doubts on VR, and in fact, I got a lot of things wrong in our VR podcast. I apologize for all that. This PlayStation VR fixes a lot of the issues I had with it, and now I think it's looking up for VR. And in 7 months, we can all get one. Wait. 7 months? October 2016? What the? iPhone 7 will be out by then. I won't even remember this. There could be like 8 more headsets by then. Jeez. Well, in 7 months, we can all experience the last nail in Xbox's coffin. Yep, that's a long ways away. We gotta stick with the expensive headsets for a while. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.